I remember standing in my kitchen last week, staring at the fridge, completely blank. I knew I had come for something, but what was it? Maybe you felt this too, walking into a room, forgetting a name, or misplacing your keys? Here's the thing. Our brains are amazing, but they weren't designed to remember every detail perfectly. That's where a mind palace comes in, a simple yet powerful trick that can transform the way you store and recall information. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 5 easy steps to build your own memory palace so you can finally remember things without panic or frustration. Before we dive into building your mind palace, it helps to understand why we forget in the first place. Our brain handles information through short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory is like a small sticky note. It can only hold a few things at once. Long-term memory is more like a massive filing cabinet, but only if information is stored correctly. One reason we forget is cognitive load. Our brains get overwhelmed when we try to juggle too much at once. Think about trying to remember a grocery list while texting and listening to a podcast. Our attention is split and nothing sticks. Research also shows that without strong associations or meaningful connections, information in our long-term memory becomes hard to retrieve. That's exactly what the memory palace method fixes. It gives your brain a structured, spatial, and emotional framework to anchor memories so they're easy to recall later. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Picture your childhood home, or maybe your favorite cafe. Walk through it in your mind, noticing the walls, the furniture, the little quirks that make it yours. This is the place you'll turn into your first mind palace. The more familiar and vivid it feels, the easier it will be to store memories there. Maybe it's the cozy corner of your bedroom where sunlight hits in the morning, or the staircase that creaks just so. I remember my first palace. It was my old apartment. Every corner, every lamp, every chair became a checkpoint for remembering things. It wasn't just about memorizing, it was about feeling the space, letting my mind walk through it, like I was already living there again. Choosing your palace is the foundation of the memory palace technique, also called the loci method. The core idea is simple. Our brains are naturally good at remembering spatial environments. By associating information with specific locations, we create mental hooks for memory. Neuroscience shows that the hippocampus, the brain's memory hub, is highly active when navigating spaces, real or imagined. That's why walking through a familiar place in your mind makes recalling information so much easier. When picking your palace, it should be highly familiar. A childhood home, a daily commute, or even a favorite park works. The key is consistency. The more vividly you can picture it, the stronger the memory anchors. Once you've chosen your palace, you're ready to add landmarks, which act as stations where memories will live. Think of it as mapping out a treasure trail where each stop holds a piece of information you want to remember. As you walk through your palace, in your mind, start noticing distinct spots. A doorway, a bookshelf, a windowsill. These aren't just background details, these are your memory landmarks. I remember turning my old apartment into a palace. The squeaky stairs became my first checkpoint, the worn out sofa my second, and the kitchen table my third. Each landmark was a mental anchor where I could place a memory. The trick is to choose landmarks that stand out and are easy to visualize. Don't clutter your palace with every object. Pick the ones that are memorable. These landmarks will act like stops on a map. Later, when you walk through your palace, your mind will naturally flow from one landmark to the next, triggering the memories you've stored there effortlessly. Defining clear landmarks is more than just picking objects. It's about creating retrieval anchors for your memory. In psychology, this ties into the concept of chunking, where we break information into manageable, meaningful units. Each landmark becomes a chunk that holds specific information. Another principle at work is encoding specificity. Memories are easier to recall when the context during encoding matches the context during retrieval. By linking information to distinct landmarks, your brain can use these visual spatial cues to trigger recall. Landmarks should be specific, vivid, and ordered. For example, a window with a red curtain is more memorable than a plain wall. The order matters too. Your mind will naturally travel in sequence, creating a structured path for recalling information. By carefully defining your landmarks, you're turning abstract facts into concrete mental waypoints, making recall faster, smoother, and more reliable. Now comes the fun part, turning your landmarks into memory machines. Instead of just imagining a chair or a door, you transform them into vivid, exaggerated images that stick in your mind. I remember trying to memorize a shopping list. The first item, eggs, became a giant dancing egg cracking jokes on my sofa. Bananas? They were sliding down my stairs like tiny yellow water slides. Ugh, it felt ridiculous, but that's the point. Humor, exaggeration, and emotion make your images unforgettable. The sillier or more emotional the visualization, the more your brain lights up when recalling it. By placing strong, memorable images at each landmark, your mind starts building a palace that's not just a place, it's an experience you can walk through and interact with. Placing vivid images in your memory palace works because of dual coding theory. This psychological principle states that information is easier to remember when it's encoded both visually and verbally. By turning abstract facts into strong mental images, you create multiple pathways for retrieval. Emotion also plays a key role. Studies show that the amygdala, which processes emotion, enhances memory consolidation. That's why a funny, shocking, or exaggerated image sticks far better than a dull one. When creating images, focus on uniqueness, movement, and emotional impact. For example, a static pencil is forgettable, but a pencil bouncing on a trampoline while wearing a hat becomes impossible to ignore. By combining landmarks plus vivid images, you're leveraging your brain's natural strengths, spatial navigation, visual memory, and emotional encoding to make recall almost effortless. This is the heart of a memory palace, turning abstract facts into an immersive, memorable experience. Once your images are in place, the next step is to connect them in a logical or story-like sequence. Think of it as creating a mental journey through your palace. I remember memorizing a list of random facts for a presentation. Each landmark had a character or object, and I linked them in a little story. The dancing egg rolled into the banana slide, which then bumped into a talking lamp. It sounded silly, but my brain never forgot it. Linking items like this transforms isolated images into a cohesive narrative, making retrieval smoother. Your mind doesn't have to search aimlessly. It walks naturally from one landmark to the next, following the story you've created. This storytelling approach turns memorization into something engaging and memorable instead of dull repetition. Linking information is grounded in the psychology of associative memory. Our brains naturally remember things better when they are connected rather than isolated. By creating chains of associations between your images and landmarks, you strengthen the pathways for recall. This is similar to the concept of elaborative encoding, where we attach meaning or relationships to information. Instead of rote memorization, your brain builds a network of connections, which makes retrieval faster and more reliable. Another principle at work is the hippocampus's role in sequence memory. When items are linked in order, your brain can reconstruct the sequence like replaying a mental map. By combining landmarks, vivid images, and logical links, your memory palace becomes more than just a collection of facts. It becomes a dynamic mental journey where each stop cues the next, making even complex information easy to recall. Building your memory palace is just the start. The real power comes from walking through it regularly. I remember the first time I tried to recall all the items in my palace. It felt like stepping into a familiar movie set and seeing every character exactly where I left them. At first, some images stumbled, some sequences blurred, but with repeated mental walkthroughs, everything became crisp. Each practice session strengthened the connections between landmarks and images, making recall almost automatic. This step is where the palace truly becomes yours. The more you revisit it, the more confident and effortless memory retrieval becomes. Soon, remembering long lists, speeches, or important facts feels natural, almost like revisiting a cherished place in your mind. The final step, practice and review, is critical because of spaced repetition and retrieval practice, two of the most robust principles in memory science. Spaced repetition means revisiting your memory palace at increasing intervals, which strengthens long-term retention. Retrieval practice involves actively recalling the information rather than passively reviewing it. Each time you mentally walk through your palace and retrieve an image or fact, you reinforce the neural connections that store that memory. Research also shows that overlearning, practicing even after you think you've memorized, creates more durable memories. The hippocampus consolidates these memories during mental walkthroughs and even during sleep, making recall smoother and faster. By combining consistent practice with your vivid images and structured landmarks, your mind palace becomes a reliable mental library, ready to recall information whenever you need it. Building your first mind palace might feel a little strange at first, but that's normal. I remember the excitement the first time I recalled an entire list perfectly. It was like unlocking a hidden superpower I never knew I had. The truth is, your brain loves structure, vivid images, and emotional connections. By choosing a familiar palace, defining clear landmarks, placing memorable images, linking them, and practicing regularly, you've created a system that turns forgetfulness into confidence. So today, pick your palace, start small, and walk through it. Each step you take strengthens your memory, sharpens your focus, and proves that remembering things isn't just possible, it can even be fun. Your first mind palace is waiting. Are you ready to step inside?